Hi, I'm Mary Greendale, and this is Just Thinking. Welcome to our annual series of interviews of candidates for local government offices. The town election is May 21st. We have contests for select board for an open seat. For planning board, we have an incumbent versus a challenger. And for school committee, we have 4 new candidates for 3 seats on the school committee. No incumbent chose to seek re-election to the school committee. I'm interviewing all these candidates. I have prepared questions specific to each board or committee. Each candidate will respond to the same questions for that office in their interview. This allows voters the chance to compare the candidates' approaches and thinking according to the issue. The interviews are done one at a time and will be posted when all the candidates for any office have been interviewed. My goal is to have the videos run 30 minutes, and they will be available on Holliston Hub HCAT's website, on Holliston Hub HCAT's YouTube channel, and on our Facebook page. Let's get started. So let me welcome Tracey McSherry, who is a candidate for the Select Board. Welcome, Tracey.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem, not a problem. So we get to start with a 2-minute pitch from you, or just actually an introduction. Save the pitch for the end, but do the introduction of who you are and where you came from, kind of thing.
Yeah, so my name's Tracey McSherry. I've lived in town for almost 15 years now with my husband, our 2 daughters, and our pets. And I'm very excited to be here talking with you and to be able to be giving back to this town that I've called home for so long.
And where'd you come from?
I grew up in Sudbury, Massachusetts.
Okay. All right, so you're just sort of used to Massachusetts anyway.
Yes,
that's a good step.
Lived most of my life here. I went to Pennsylvania for college. But.
Okay, and do you work outside the home, or?
I do, yes. I'm a project manager in a pharma company.
Okay, all right. Do you have to commute in and out of the city?
No, I'm based in Framingham.
Oh, good for you.
Yes.
Good for you. I have a friend who's in the pharma industry, and he has to get to Cambridge every day, and I always, kind of feel like I have to say a prayer for him every day. You know?
Yes.
So anyway, so why did you decide to run for this office at this time?
Yes, well, I've living in this town for almost 15 years. I've just seen how truly remarkable this place can be, and I'm excited to now be giving back and helping Holliston move forward into the future. I feel like we're at a really exciting time with the development of the strategic plan, and now we need to put that plan into action. And actually, in my job, I spend a lot of time building plans with our project teams and then holding them accountable to make sure that we, adjust the resources needed and pivot as needed to bring those plans to life. Mm-hmm. So it felt like a really good fit.
Okay. Have you ever served in, on any other appointed committees within government or in any organizations or nonprofits or whatever in town?
This would be my first government position, but I have been involved with Holly Pride and Diverse Holliston in town, as well as coaching Destination Imagination.
Great program.
And softball for my 2 daughters. And I've also volunteered with the Miller and Adams Ski Club. So I've really gotten to know.
Good cross-section of stuff, so you get to meet people of different ages and everything else like that. Yeah. So the Select Board is the top executive level board in town. Describe what you think makes you ready for this, for the role and responsibilities. What do you bring to it?
Yes. So in my one of my first roles out of college, I was a research associate and helped to coordinate the startup of our crystallography lab, which included overseeing renovations, acquisition of equipment, and then maintenance and after the installation of that equipment. And I realized in that time that I actually enjoyed solving the logistical and the business problems more so than the actual lab work, which led me to pursue an MBA from Boston College. And then I made a change into my current role, where I've now been an operation capacity planning manager for almost 10 years now. And in this role, I have managed the capital budget for our biotherapeutics department. And that's involved a lot of negotiation and prioritization, as well as some for really big ticket items like new technologies that we're bringing in. I've worked with the teams to secure funding via designing a proposal. So we have to do cost-benefit analysis, as well as exploring alternative options to our proposed plan, and then getting all those teams on board with each other, aligned with each other, and with the department goals. So I feel like my experience would leave me very well suited for this position.
Okay. What are your top 3 goals for the select board for the next 3 years, bearing in mind that you are only one of 3 and really can't do anything without the others?
Yes, I would like to see Holliston become a leader in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I really feel in my heart that when everybody can use their own unique gifts, we will all benefit. Mm-hmm. So I would love to see, a diverse group of residents, workers, businesses within town so we can all thrive. And secondly, I would love to see an increased tax base, commercial tax base. I know that will help to ensure our financial health and growth for years to come. And finally, to promote environmentally sustainable practices, whether that's new businesses, following those sustainable practices, and other things that the town government can be involved in.
Any ideas on how you will do particularly the first 2 in terms of the diversity and I've already forgotten blank. Okay, so the first 2, let me leave it at that and look like I remember.
Yes. Yes, I would say as far just making Holliston as welcoming as possible for everyone. I think that would also be...
Can I interrupt you right there? What's that mean?
I think we make sure that people, regardless of their race, gender identity, gender, sexual orientation, they know that they are welcome in this town.
But how do you do that from an official position when sometimes it's really just how your neighbors treat you? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that, we as a board can be leaders, as well as in the schools, send a message to the members of our town that hate would not be tolerated, and that we as a board could decide to side with those who encourage tolerance, acceptance, and be more welcoming to.
Okay, all right. There are plans underway for improvements and additions to the sidewalks and construction of a new DPW. And we've got the Woodland Street Bridge that's still under repair or about to be repaired. And we've got discussions about doing town sewer in the downtown, just in the commercial business area. So do you see these changing Holliston, and if so, how or why?
Yes, well, I think it's important to realize that our world is changing. We need to change and grow with it. As our world has as our town has grown, the demands on our DPW has certainly grown, and so we need to invest in that infrastructure to allow them to maintain the safety of our streets and fields and all of the spaces that we enjoy in this town. As far as the downtown sewer would bring new businesses into town, would rejuvenate our downtown and just uplift the community.
How would you feel if buildings downtown that are, some of them are historic, not all of them, were torn down and we put up more modern buildings?
I think we would need to consider the needs of our town now and in the future. I would love to see those buildings preserved and adapted as best we can. I love the idea of having the library in the downtown. I think it's really important to be at the center of our town. So I would like to see things kept, the historic things obviously kept as much as possible, and I'm sure that we will work to do that.
It is a historic district.
Yes.
So, it should be part and parcel. The school department says that we need a modern high school to better prepare students for the future. Whether it's a major rehab or a new building, the price tag will be millions and millions of dollars. So how do you prioritize that effort among all of the other priorities that we know that we have? And I'm not going to let you cop out with, we'll get more businesses, because we've been trying to do that for 50 years and it hasn't gone so well.
Yes.
Well, part of the problem is that we're not in a good location and we don't have sewers. And that's been these are the biggest detractors as far as the businesses are concerned.
Right.
So anyway, back to the, impact on the tax burden of a new school. And within the priorities that you expect you'll see within the Board of Selectmen or the Select Board these days, how do you see working in or not the priority of a high school?
Yes, well, I mean, I know that it's going to be a huge price tag, which is why one of my priorities is to bring in new businesses. But I think it's very important that we make sure we secure whatever state or possibly federal funding is available to reduce that burden. And remember that the students in their school are the future leaders, and we need to do what we can for them while we are trying to get funding for the school from the state. Need to also focus on whatever improvements can be made in the education that they're receiving in this building that we have. As a student, I was in the group that finished the elementary school in my town, and then they built a new school.
Huh.
I finished middle school.
And they got a new one.
All the way on through college.
Oh.
I think even if we do get funding today, it's going to be multi-year. So we need to not sit back and wait for that to happen, but look at how we can.
How do you think that the Select Board can interface with that or involve itself in there?
Working with the school committee, bringing back, taking a look at the capital expenditures that school committee is requesting and seeing how we can work that into our current budget, or see if there are creative solutions for how we can meet those with a lower expense.
Okay. There will be an article at town meeting to upgrade the town administrator position to town manager, providing that position with more authority for the day-to-day operations and supervision of town staff. Please explain your thoughts about this.
Yes. So, in doing some research on this, I've seen that the town administrator position was started in 1994, which is around 30 years ago. Everything has become more complex in that time, including local government. So I think that this is something that we need to adopt to become more efficient. And I think that it will help us to remove some of the burden of the day-to-day from our elected officials, which will then free up time and energy for them to focus on making more strategic policy decisions.
Okay. Well, you're obviously familiar with the strategic plan, since I didn't have to give you one. This plan, even though it hasn't gone to town meeting yet, now even as it's sitting as a draft, as a document anyway, describe how you think the plan will serve as a durable tool going forward. Very often, historically, not just this town, but many towns will, they get the plans, but they don't have the implementation, or they don't know who's going to be held accountable for whatever. So what do you think on this one?
At least for me, I view the plan as a compass. This can show for every decision that comes to the board, be a guide as what will bring us towards our true north. Will this make deciding yes or no on this, or will this bring us closer to becoming who we have declared in the strategic plan that we want to be? So that is how I view it. I do have some concerns about accountability for all departments and elected officials that I want to make sure, because I've looked through this plan and it is wonderful. I want to see it come to life and realize that vision. So,
when you say you have some concerns about the elected officials, what do you mean?
I just don't want, but it's not necessarily just elected officials, but in departments in town to say,
anybody who's involved.
We don't have money for training in diversity, equity, inclusion this year. We can put that off for another year. But it's, that's something that's been stated in the plan that is a goal. And how do we make sure that these goals we've stated don't get pushed aside because individuals have other priorities or just because everything costs more and we always short on resources.
Well, that becomes the drumbeat, that for just about everything. And I don't know, sometimes it's really, really hard, what you're balancing.
Yes.
And I mean, training is short money, so it's not like, you're talking about this building versus that building kind of
Right.
thing. So I mean, for training, I would think that would be something you could manage. But
Yes,
there are other things that are
what-
perhaps
yes.
a little more costly that won't be quite so easy to navigate.
Right.
So what do you think about the sewer project for the Village Commercial for downtown? Do you support it? And are you looking forward to it? Would you have any ideas for businesses for it? What would you put down there?
I would love to see more restaurants. I would say I do support the downtown sewer project. I think that it would bring in new business, elevate the businesses that we have there. I think if we have restaurants there, that would also benefit some of the existing businesses because if people come in for dinner with their kids, come and have a burger or something in downtown, they're going to pop into Fisk's before or after. I mean, I can't walk through downtown without my kids wanting to go there.
There's a giant magnet inside the walls of that building that's only for kids.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I remember it well. Well, in the process of writing the 300th anniversary book, which I've been doing for the last couple of years, one of the things that's amazing to me is that, like, at very different times over that period of time, like in the 50s, you needed your basic essential needs for every day. You needed your grocery store downtown. You needed your hay and feed and grain store downtown. You needed whatever. And then it moved forward a little bit more, and we became a mecca for decorating stores. Okay, so in the 70s, we had carpet sheds, and we had all kinds of paint shops, and this, that, and the other thing. And then 20 years later, it was something else, and then 20 years later, it's something else. So now it's definitely that community sense of belonging, entertainment, social kind of environment that everybody seems to talk about. It's just it's ubiquitous. It's absolutely everywhere. I'm not always sure what that means. I mean, restaurants, yes, but I mean, I'm not sure how many we could even have downtown, because sewer capacity, even with new sewers, that sewer is going to have limited capacity, and restaurants are usually big users. So it's going to be interesting to see what other kinds of things are there that might not be quite so, demanding on a sewer system.
Right.
Because it's really a tough location. It's also very wet. Also very wet just to begin with. That very high water table. So, so here's the question about the what are the top 3 things that you think you can do to increase the commercial base? I mean, I know we've touched on this, but it's kind of what everybody talks about.
Right.
Let's frame it. We have virtually no more buildable land. The only land that's industry-oriented, if you will, or zoned is in Hoppingbrook Park, and we don't own it. A private developer or a private owner owns it. So what is it that you think that you on the select board and in a position to be working with the part-time economic development coordinator, what do you see yourself being able to do?
Yes, I would like to really leverage the rail trail that we have that comes through town, brings a lot of people into town, and brings people looking for, some activities. They want to come, they want to ride the rail trail, they want to come have some ice cream, have, a bite to eat, and stop at some of these little stores. And so I would say that's a real draw to our town, and whatever we can do to leverage that and encourage businesses along the trail, and maybe a bike shop or something.
How about industry? I mean, they're a little bit different animal.
Yeah.
They're also the ones that pay the bigger tax bills.
Right.
Love our mom and pop shops, and they are sort of the ground zero for us. But any thoughts on what we can do with industry? You're sort of in a big industry. How does that world work?
I mean, I make the medicines
Okay.
within that industry, but yeah, you know, I mean, we have our own struggles with bringing in big industries, and I think we need to be strategic about what we might bring in, make sure it's not posing too much of a burden as far as traffic and noise.
Let's just focus on that. How would you go about defining that? Because that's one of my personal complaints is we don't say what we want. We always just say what we don't want. We don't want that, we don't want that. Nope. And sometimes we don't even say that in a timely manner. What is it we want? Any thoughts about what you know? I know that question wasn't on here, but it was like, no.
What we do want, I mean, I would like to see some things that kind of focus in like the agritourism part. I know it's not a huge industry, a huge business industry, but something that kind of would honor our town heritage and can maintain our small town feel.
Yeah, big industry. Big industry is really a
yeah.
tough one. There's no question. It's hard.
I mean, we have like the solar fields on Marshall, something like that would also check off some other boxes in our strategic plan as far as.
Well, we've got several.
environmentally
We've got like
yes.
5 of them.
Yeah, and so,
You know, but yeah, no, the solar farms. But again, they account for maybe $30,000 a year. You know, in a payment in lieu of taxes. They don't pay taxes in the conventional sense, so they're a little bit different. But the challenge of industrial property of the town, you know.
I would say is like my third pillar. I would like to build a communication between these businesses, industry that's coming in, and the residents, because we are both dependent on each other, so we can make sure we're working together, and when conflict arises, we're using creative problem solving to try to reach the best solution for everyone involved.
Well, communication usually comes down to being the big bugaboo for everything. You know, how we do it, or if we do it, you know, whatever. It's the big thing. So, and then sort of a from out of the box kind of question, because it did arise before this, well, earlier this spring or winter. What are your thoughts of providing voting privileges for local elections and town meetings only to non-citizens who live in Holliston? I know there are some folks who live here who are very active in the community and would love to be able to, you know, run for the school committee or vote for select board or whatever, and they can't. Now, this is not, we wouldn't be the only people who had ever done this, okay? This is not untoward. Other places do. But because they don't have national citizenship, they're not allowed to. So how do you feel about it?
I mean, obviously we would first have to follow whatever state and federal laws are around this, but my feeling is that, you know, primary residents of our town are involved in our community and should have a voice. So.
Okay. Well, that one was pretty simple.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was an interesting one that came up not too long ago. So you have a couple minutes to do your elevator pitch. You know, please vote for me because you know, that kind of thing. And so take it away.
Okay. Yes. I just like to say I've lived here for a number of years. I've seen this town. I've seen how they've been really embraced this rail trail. Growing up in Sudbury, we did not have that same feeling when we had a rail trail come to town.
Oh, no kidding.
It's just been very exciting to see everybody embrace that, and there's just a real sense of community. I'm very happy to be giving back and looking forward to being ears for people. I want to hear what constituents, how they feel, and make sure that everybody's voice is heard. So, and mostly I want people to get out, get involved, get out and vote, because I know that these local elections are determined by very few votes, and government works best when everybody's voice is heard. So get out. I hope I'm the candidate you want to support, but just make sure your voice is heard.
Thank you. That's a good point. And the election is on May 21st. And thank you to Tracey McSherry, candidate for Select Board. You've done your homework, so please remember to vote on May 21st. It's important for you, your family, and the community. Thank you.